The fact that it can only live in one mode and one presentation was excruciating for me.
At 57, the tragedy of Keith Urban is beyond heartbreaking. The world sees the superstar, the voice, the smile, the sold-out arenas from Nashville to Sydney. But few know the man who has battled the shadows of addiction, endured the pain of abuse, and survived devastating personal loss. This isn't just the story of a country music legend. It's the story of a fighter who refused to be broken. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear will change the way you see Keith Urban forever. Keith Lionel Urban was born on October 26, 1967, in Whangarei, New Zealand. The youngest of two children, when he was just 2 years old, his parents packed up their lives and moved to Queensland, Australia, settling in the Brisbane suburb of Caboolture, where they ran a small convenience store. On the outside, it looked like a simple, working-class life, but inside the family home, trouble brewed. Keith's father, Robert Urban, was a man of contradictions. Charming and impeccably dressed one moment, angry and unpredictable the next. His drinking wasn't occasional, it was constant. In interviews years later, Keith would bluntly admit, "My dad was an alcoholic, and that brings its own dysfunction to a home. The household was tense, unpredictable, and often silent." Rolling Stone would later describe Robert Urban as cruel and abusive, a man whose presence cast a shadow over the family. As a boy, Keith felt unseen, wishing for the kind of love and attention other kids seemed to get so easily. That pain pushed him inward, into himself, into his own imagination, and into music. At 6 years old, he picked up a guitar, and something clicked. Music wasn't just a hobby. It was an escape route. It was how he survived. In 1983, at just 15, Keith won at the Tamworth Country Music Festival, Australia's biggest country event. That same year, he appeared on Reg Lindsay's Country Homestead, marking his television debut. His natural talent and stage presence were undeniable. By 1990, Keith had signed his first recording contract, fronting a band called The Ranch. But the dream stumbled out of the gate. The band didn't sell, the market wasn't ready, and Keith found himself facing early career disappointment. The kid from Caboolture, who thought music would save him, was now staring down the possibility that it might not be enough. In 1992, Keith took the leap every aspiring country artist dreams of. He moved to Nashville, Tennessee. It was supposed to be a fresh start. Instead, it became a test of survival. He lived in a rundown neighborhood, sharing a room with a cocaine addict, surrounded by temptation and desperate to fit in. Keith fell into drinking heavily and using drugs. He was rejected more than 10 times by record labels before finally signing with Capitol Records in 1999. But the victory came with a price. His addictions were no longer recreational. They were a way of life. From the early 1990s through the mid-2000s, Keith's dependency nearly destroyed him. He was hospitalized multiple times, first at Cumberland Heights in Nashville in 1998, and later at the Betty Ford Center in California in 2006. In total, he entered rehab 3 times. He would later admit, "I caused the implosion of my fresh marriage." At the time, he didn't realize his alcoholism was different from his father's, but just as destructive. Even at his lowest points, music was the thread holding him together. Songs like You're Not My God 2002 and Nobody Drinks Alone 2004 weren't just tracks, they were confessions. Through songwriting, Keith confronted his demons in a way he couldn't yet do in conversation. It wasn't an uninterrupted climb to success. Every high came with another crash. But his fragile faith in tomorrow and his connection to the audience kept him from giving up completely. Everything changed in January 2005 when Keith met Nicole Kidman at the G-Day USA Gala in Los Angeles. There was an instant connection. By June 25, 2006, they were married in Sydney, but just months into their marriage, Keith relapsed. Nicole noticed the signs: mood swings, insomnia, emotional distance. Refusing to stand by and watch him fall apart, she staged an intervention. In October 2006, working with specialists to get him into rehab immediately, Nicole put her career on hold, moved near the rehab facility, visited daily, and brought family members to remind Keith of what he stood to lose. Keith would later tell People magazine, "For months into a marriage, I'm in rehab. If you want to see what love in action looks like, give that a whirl." Their love endured. In 2008, they welcomed their first daughter, Sunday Rose, and in 2010, Faith Margaret was born via surrogacy. In 2025, both daughters joined their father on stage for the first time on Father's Day, a moment Keith called one of the highlights of his life. The years that followed brought both joy and heartbreak. In 2015, Keith's father passed away from cancer, despite their painful history. Keith grieved deeply, telling mourners he was grateful his dad was no longer suffering. In 2021, tragedy struck again when his tour manager, Randy Baja Fletcher, died in an accident just before a show. Then in 2024, Nicole's mother, Janelle Kidman, passed away, plunging the family into mourning. Each loss forced Keith to confront old wounds and find new ways to heal, and every time, he turned back to music. One of Keith Urban's most deeply personal songs, Break the Chain, stands as a declaration of his mission to end the cycle of generational pain that had haunted his life since childhood. In it, he poured the lessons of years spent confronting trauma, addiction, and loss, transforming his private battles into a message of hope. Keith has often spoken openly about grief, describing it as something that comes in waves. Over time, he chose to step away from risky behaviors, focus on his family, and treasure the small, grounding moments that brought him peace. But in 2023, a new kind of challenge blindsided him. Social media lit up with false reports claiming that Keith Urban had died. The rumors spread at alarming speed, so much so that Keith Urban dead became one of the top searched phrases online. Fake news websites, clickbait blogs, and even pages impersonating fact-checking organizations pushed the story, creating widespread confusion and panic among his fans. While Keith and his team moved quickly to deny the claims, the emotional impact was undeniable, particularly on his loved ones, who had already endured real, heartbreaking losses in recent years. Rather than lashing out publicly, Keith made a conscious choice to remain silent and focus on his work, refusing to give the lies more power. He recognized a larger truth in today's age of viral misinformation. No public figure is immune. The real danger wasn't in the false headlines. It was in allowing negativity to derail his path forward instead of retreating. Keith came back stronger. In 2024, he released High, a 12-track album that broke into the top 10 of the country charts and reached number 38 on the Billboard 200. That same record earned the honor of being the top-selling Australian country album at the 2025 Golden Guitar Awards, cementing his place as not just a survivor, but a thriving force in music. That same year, he launched the High and Alive tour, performing around 40 shows across North America and Australia. Venues like the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles, Rogers Arena in Vancouver, and Budweiser Stage in Toronto sold out, while smaller, intimate shows kept him connected to fans on a personal level. Keith Urban isn't just celebrated for his chart-topping hits, he's admired for his openness, generosity, and humanity behind the scenes. Away from the bright lights, he's the kind of artist who listens to his crew, encourages younger musicians, and takes the time to connect with fans who are struggling. After shows, when most stars retreat to privacy, Keith often stays, speaking with those battling addiction or mental health issues, offering encouragement from someone who has been there himself. Together with his wife, Nicole Kidman, he has gone beyond the music to make a real impact. The two have organized private mental health discussions for young people, openly sharing their personal journey through hardship, addiction, and recovery as a way to inspire hope. His ongoing work with Music Cares and other recovery-focused organizations has led to a measurable rise in program participation in the areas where he performs, proving his influence stretches far beyond the stage. Despite the demands of constant touring and recording, Keith has made one thing non-negotiable: family comes first. Whether it's a simple park walk, teaching his daughter's guitar, or sharing a quiet dinner at home, these are the moments he treasures most. On social media, he occasionally offers fans a glimpse into this side of his life, a candid Christmas family photo caption, "From our family to yours, blessings." For Keith, music is more than a career, it's an act of healing, a form of apology to those he's hurt, and a personal commitment to never fall back into the darkness that nearly ended his journey. Today, Keith Urban stands as more than just a 4-time Grammy winner and international superstar. He is a living symbol of resilience, proof that even in the depths of addiction, heartbreak, and public scrutiny, it is possible to rise again. His story is a reminder that our heroes are human. They bleed, they break, and the bravest among them rebuild, not once, but every single day. If you've ever fought battles like Keith Urban, tell us in the comments. Your story might inspire someone else to keep going, and if you believe that every tragedy can be turned into strength, hit like, tap subscribe, and share this video so more people can hear the powerful stories that live behind the spotlight. Thanks for watching.